Hi, my name is Zach Barger, and I'm with Wise Property Group. Today I'm going to walk you through the steps to become a homeowner and make this process as stress-free as possible. You guys ready to get started? Here's what we're going to cover today. First, we'll start with the benefits of homeownership. Then we'll jump into the specifics of Austin's housing market. Once we've covered that, then it's time to jump into the actual steps involved in purchasing a home. The first is how to build your team and the members that you need to include on that team. Once we've established that, we'll talk about the pre-approval process, which will allow you to determine how much you can afford and live comfortably. From there, we'll talk about the techniques and strategies and tools that we will use to find the home that's appropriate for you. Once we've located the home that is the right fit for you, we'll need to make an offer on it. I'll walk you through how to make an offer in a competitive market like we're in here in Austin. From there, we need to understand what to do from contract to close. I'll walk you through the basics so you have a basic understanding of what to expect there as we work to get to the closing table to get you the keys to your brand new home. Once we've gone through the whole process, the next step is meeting with me, and we'll go ahead and get the process started to help you purchase a home. One of the most amazing benefits of being a homeowner is it will help you increase your net worth. In the US, homeowners have a net worth that is 40 times greater than renters. That is insane. I don't think I need to spit out any other stats for you to be confident in purchasing a house. This alone should put you in a position that you feel confident moving forward. The primary reason for this difference in net worth is because for the majority of us, our largest allocation of funds on a monthly basis goes towards housing. As a homeowner, those funds go towards your net worth through equity. Let me explain how equity works. Your home equity is the value of your home minus your mortgage balance. So your home equity, or the amount that you have in net worth, increases in one of two ways. The first way is through appreciation. That is your home increasing in value as home prices continue to increase. The second way is by paying down your principal, which you do with your monthly payments. In later slides, we'll discuss why appreciation in Austin is likely to continue to happen and why that will help you continue to grow your home equity moving forward. Being a homeowner gives you tax benefits that you don't have as a renter. One of the cool tax benefits is the ability to write off anything that you have paid for in mortgage insurance, mortgage interest, or property taxes. In a quick example, let's say that you make $60,000 in a year, but you paid $5,000 in property taxes, interest, and mortgage insurance for the year. So rather than paying income tax on that $60,000 that you made, you would actually be able to deduct that $5,000 from your income, and you would only be paying income tax on $55,000 rather than $60,000. Obviously, I'm not a CPA, but so you should consult a CPA for specifics on this, but this is one of the great benefits of being a homeowner. Now, one rebuttal that I often hear from renters when we talk about this particular benefit of being a homeowner is, well, as a renter, I don't have to pay property taxes. And that is technically true, but the reality is what you're paying in rent includes what your landlord is paying for property taxes. It might not be a broken out line item, but it is definitely factored into what you are paying for in rent. One of the coolest tax benefits of being a homeowner is the capital gains exemption. Now listen to this. The capital gains exemption allows you to incur profits up to $250,000 as an individual and $500,000 as a married couple on the sale of your primary residence without paying any taxes on that. It's the only investment vehicle that I'm aware of that you don't have to pay capital gains tax on profits that you incur from the sale of said investment. This is a massive benefit of being a homeowner, and it's one of the greatest ways to quickly build wealth. So now that we know more about the benefits of homeownership, let's look into more specifics about Austin's housing market. Earlier, when we spoke about home equity, we talked about one of the ways that your home equity can increase is through appreciation. This chart below shows the average price in Austin over the last 30 years. What you can see is that's definitely a strong positive correlation. This doesn't include 2021. Year to date, our median home price is actually $565,000, and this is taped in October of 2021, which is an increase of 27% year over year. That is a massive increase. If you're buying a median home priced home that's increased 27%, that's roughly $110,000 in your pocket by just living in a home. That's a massive number that we can't replicate really in any other way in our economy. Now, another thing to look at here, oftentimes I hear from first-time home buyers, they're concerned about purchasing in the midst of what could be another bubble. Now, first of all, we need to understand what a bubble is. A bubble means that prices are increasing based on speculation and not based on the fundamentals of supply and demand. The reality is, in our market, homes are increasing in value because there is a shortage of supply and a huge influx of demand. We'll look at some of the factors that are driving that demand here shortly. Another thing to look at is even if we do face another housing crisis, we can see how Austin weathered the storm in 2008, 2009. You can see on this chart that dotted line represents the average sales price. And amidst the housing crisis in 2009, Austin home prices lost less than 0.1% of value. We did see a dip in volume, which is the blue bars that you see there with sales, but we maintained our strength with our prices throughout the downturn. And then in 2010, 2011, we really started to see home sales tick up and lead into the boom that we're seeing now here in Austin. So moral of the story, prices in Austin are going to continue to increase. If you're on the fence about making a decision, you should go ahead and move forward now rather than later, because the reality is homes are not going to get cheaper and interest rates are likely to increase as well. The cool aspect of that, though, is if you are a homeowner, as home prices increase, so is your net worth. So get into the market sooner than later to allow yourself to have your net worth increase along with the market. One of the reasons we're seeing consistent and dramatic appreciation in Austin is due to the job growth that we've seen consistently since 2010. You can see on the slide here that Austin's MSA is the top fastest growing large U.S. job market in the country over the last 5 years. MSA stands for Metropolitan Statistical Area, and Austin's MSA is made up of the 5 counties: Bastrop County, Caldwell County, Hayes County, Travis County, and Williamson County. Because of job growth, as well as Austin being an attractive place to live, we've had a ton of people moving here. Our population has increased 33.7% over the last decade. That's compared to 7% across the United States. Right now in Austin's MSA, there are roughly 2.2 million people. And according to the Austin Chamber of Commerce, they're predicting that by 2050, that we should have 4.5 million people in Austin's MSA. And obviously, this is a projection, and we all know that projections can go a lot of different ways. But let's say this projection's off by a crazy number. Say it's off by 1 million people, and we only increased to 3.2 million. What do you think home prices have done over the last 30 years if we've increased by another 1 million people in Austin? They're going to go way up. We all know that. Austin's an attractive place to live, and that's not going to change. Because of that, we're going to continue to see people moving here, which is going to continue to bring a lot of demand to Austin, and we're going to continue to struggle to satisfy that demand. All of that means prices are going to continue to go up, which means as a homeowner, your net worth goes up. We've talked a lot about population growth. The reality is that Austin is a super attractive place to live. We have fantastic weather here. We have amazing entertainment with ACL and South by Southwest. We've got great food. We got the University of Texas, which continually brings more and more talented people to the city of Austin. It's the state capital. There's a lot of great people here. It's extremely dog friendly. It's a fun place to live, and that's not going to change anytime soon. It's also a great place to get high paying jobs. Because of that, we'll continue to see people moving here, which will continue to increase that demand for housing in Austin. Now that we reviewed the benefits of homeownership and dug into Austin's housing market, obviously we're super hyped, we're ready to roll. We want to learn how we can purchase a house in Austin. So let's go ahead and jump right into the actual steps of how to purchase a home. The first step is building your team. So who do you need on your team? The 2 key team members that you're going to need are your realtor and a lender, preferably a local lender. Let's dive into what you're looking for both of those roles on your team. The first team member that we'll talk about is using a local lender. A few of the key reasons why you want to use a local lender: they're going to be available for questions. Obviously, especially if this is your first house, you're going to have a lot of questions as you go through the process. You want to make sure that you have somebody that you can contact and will be readily available to answer your questions as you go through the process. Other key components of why we want to use a local lender: 1, they have a much better shot of closing on time. When we use a big bank lender like a Rocket Mortgage or something along those lines, it's very common for closings to get pushed back 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and sometimes it can cause a deal to fall apart because we didn't meet the terms of the contract by closing on time, simply because we had a big bank lender that wasn't concerned about getting our loan closed on time. When you're working with the local lenders that I work with, we'll be sure to close on time if it's at all possible. In this market, really the only thing that prevents us closing on time if we're using a local lender would be the appraisal coming in a little bit late. Because we've seen so many homes sell in Austin, there has been a little bit of a shortage on appraisers in the area, so we have seen a little bit of delay with that. But beyond that, our local lenders are going to be able to ensure that we close on time. Another huge component of getting our offer accepted is working with a lender that listing agents know and trust. When we go out and we start putting offers in, we're more than likely going to run into multiple offer situations. And if we have a similar offer to a competing offer, but that competing offer is cash or they have a local lender and we're using a big bank, it could be a reason that the listing agent and the seller goes with a different offer besides ours. When we're working with the local lenders that I work with, we'll have somebody that's going to advocate for you as a buyer and show that they've gone through all of your documents and have done the initial pre-approval to ensure that they'll be able to close on this property and won't have any financing issues. It's extremely important that we have a team member that's willing to fight for you and advocate for you as a buyer when we're in a competitive market like this. Now we need to hire the next member of our team, which is the realtor. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm a realtor, so I'm probably going to ask for your business as we go through this. And you're 100% correct. I'm definitely advocating for you hiring me, but I'm going to explain to you why I'm a good hire for you. Now, when you're looking for a realtor here in Austin, you need somebody that knows the market and can navigate this extremely competitive market to help you get into a home. Being able to just understand the process is a very small part of being a realtor in Austin. You need someone that is experienced and capable of helping you navigate this crazy market to get you into a home that, one, fits all of your criteria, two, is going to be a good long-term investment, and three, is within your price range. You can see on the slide here that we have a number of items that are involved with the transaction. We talk about how to price homes, the negotiation process that goes on before contract as well as after contract. We also have home inspections. We'll talk a little bit more about that in depth here in the next few slides, but helping you navigate that home inspection and what's found in that inspection is a huge component of having an agent that can help you truly get into a place that's going to help you increase your long-term wealth. There are a lot of different variables that are involved with the promulgated forms that we use here in Texas when submitting offers on homes. There's a lot of different techniques that I can help employ on your behalf to get us into a home at the best possible rate, as well as make our offer as attractive as possible to the sellers. It's almost inevitable that we're going to run into multiple offer situations as we go through this process together. And again, you're going to want to hire an experienced agent like myself that can help you navigate that process and understand what you need to do to get a house under contract and eventually get the keys to it. There are definitely risks involved with purchasing a home. Part of my job is helping you be aware of those risks and avoid pitfalls that can happen when looking at a home. One of the biggest ones is getting into a home that's likely going to become a money pit for you. Especially if you're on the higher end of your budget, we want to make sure that we're getting you into a home that is not going to be a money pit. It's not going to have a ton of maintenance. It's not going to have big time structural concerns or mechanical concerns. Every home's going to have some maintenance, but we're going to get you into a home that you're going to feel comfortable in and you're not going to have issues with long term, and it really is going to help you build that net worth that we spoke so much about today. Another super cool component of using a buyer's agent when looking to purchase a home is it is completely free. My commission is paid for by the sellers. You can pay me down the road when we decide to go ahead and cash in on all of that profit that you're going to incur from the sale of your house. But up until that point, you don't have to pay me any commission. Again, it's paid for by the sellers when you use me as a buyer's agent. So to wrap it up, I hope you hire me. I'm going to work my tail off to help you achieve your best possible outcome and help you grow your net worth through real estate. All right, now we're ready to talk about how much you can afford. We've hired our team, you've hired me, or you've made the horrific decision of hiring someone else. But either way, now to the next step. Now we need to determine how much you can afford. And how we're going to do that is through the pre-approval process. Once I've connected you with the local lender, they're going to send you their application. That application in most scenarios is going to require you to provide some additional documents. Those documents would include your tax returns, your pay stubs, bank statements, any form of record of additional assets that you may have. Once you've completed the application, the lender is going to run your credit. and they're going to look at all of your variables to determine how much you are pre-approved for. At that point, the lender will provide a pre-approval letter. Now, a key component of this is once we have that pre-approval letter, that doesn't mean that we have to purchase a home at that max price. What we want to do with our local lender is determine how much we feel comfortable with on a monthly basis, as well as a total cash out of pocket for your down payment and closing costs that you feel comfortable with. We'll build a framework based on that, which we will use for our home search. But we can't do that until we have this pre-approval process completed and we know all of your variables to be able to build the financial solution that fits your needs best. There are 4 different loan types that could be a good fit for you. The most common one is conventional. A conventional loan allows you to put a down payment as low as 3% down. It's most common to see 20% down with a conventional loan. That allows you to remove PMI, which is primary mortgage insurance, from the loan. That's basically insurance to protect the bank from the risk of you foreclosing as a borrower. And at 20%, they see that risk lower, so you don't have an additional amount on your monthly payment for mortgage insurance if you put 20% or more down. The next loan type is an FHA loan. The FHA loan generally has a little bit lower credit requirements. Its lowest down payment is 3.5%. It can be an attractive loan for first-time home buyers. We also have the VA loan, which is specific for veterans. This is a fantastic loan product, and if you have served our country and you're eligible for the VA loan program, it is one of the best ways to build wealth because of how attractive that loan program is. With a VA loan, you are able to purchase a home with 0% down. And our last loan is USDA. This is a loan that's based on rural areas. So the majority of Austin, you can no longer get a USDA loan, but if we do find a USDA eligible location, that also supplies a 0% down option. One big variable that's going to go into your pre-approval is your credit history. Now, there are a lot of elements that go into what your credit score is. You can see on the chart here that it's made up of 5 different categories. We have payment history, which is one of your largest portions. That's 35% of your credit score. We have the amount owed, which is 30% of your credit score. We have credit types, meaning which types of credit you've obtained. So student loans and mortgages are seen more attractively than credit card debt. New credit makes up 10% of our credit score, and that's how many new accounts have you recently opened. The more inquiries and accounts that you've opened, the more it'll pull your score down. The last one is our length of credit history. It makes up 15% of our credit score. Now, the important aspect of this is to understand that you don't need to know all the variables of your credit score. You also should get pre-approved if you're concerned that your credit score is too low. I've heard many stories of people waiting to get pre-approved because they didn't think their credit was high enough, where they were already in a position that they could have got pre-approved. You want to get pre-approved as soon as possible, regardless of whether you have things to work on or not, because you'll be able to get clarity on the steps you need to take. Maybe you're already pre-approved, but if you're not, you'll have a better understanding of exactly what you need to do to achieve the outcome that you want. If you wait to get pre-approved, you're going to be working in the dark. You're not going to have that clarity that you will once you get pre-approved. We've completed the pre-approval process with our lender. We have an idea of what we are pre-approved for, and more importantly, we have the financial framework that we're going to use to guide our home search based on what you feel comfortable with on a monthly basis, as well as a complete cash out of pocket number for your closing costs and down payment. Now that we have that guiding our search, we're ready to get out there and start looking at homes. So there are a lot of different ways that you can find a house. You can stumble upon it looking on the internet, looking on Zillow, Trulia. You could drive by, see a sign, maybe stop in at an open house. You could just hear about somebody selling a house off market, possibly. Maybe a neighbor's looking to sell a house. The reality is there are a lot of different ways to stumble into a house. But one of the benefits of hiring me is I'm going to help streamline this whole process for you. I want to make sure to get the appropriate listings in front of you, as well as provide off-market opportunities for you. So the way we're going to streamline the home search, first we're going to determine specifically what your goals are. Part of that's going to be the financial framework that we spoke about earlier, but then we're going to jump into what exactly you're looking for as far as the home goes. What location, what size, what's important to you as far as schools, layout, all that good stuff. We're really going to dive into what it is exactly that you're looking for. Sometimes when we go through that process, I have to give you a little dose of reality because we might be shopping with champagne taste on a beer budget. But if that's the case, I'll help give you guidance and help you have a better understanding of what our realistic options are. Once we've determined those goals and have a set search criteria, Then we're going to use the best tools to find those homes. One of the best tools we'll use is the MLS. That's where I'll provide access to all the homes that are listed by realtors in Austin's multiple listing service. This will allow you to see anything as soon as it hits the market that fits our criteria. It's also a great platform for us to communicate on. You'll be able to have your client portal set up, which will allow you to favorite homes as well as leave notes on it, which makes it easy for us to communicate about homes that you're interested in and setting up showings. Another tool that I'll use on your behalf is our Wise Property Group Direct Buyer Program. Once you hire me, you'll get access to this program. What it is, it's homes that our brokerage has that are off market. They might be pocket listings or sellers that we're talking to about selling their home, but they don't have it on the market yet. So basically, you'll have access to homes before they hit the market, giving you a huge competitive edge on the rest of the market. Once we've used the tools at our disposal to start looking at homes, I'll have you start sending me your favorite homes. Generally, we'll look at 3 to 5 in a weekend. Once you send me those 3 to 5, I'll get the showing set up and we'll go out and start looking at homes in person. There's a huge difference between looking at homes in person and online, so it's very important that we start going out and getting a feel for what you actually like. Oftentimes, as we go through the home search process, our criteria will adjust a little bit as we get a better feel for what we're looking for. Sometimes our size requirements might change. We might find out that we're okay with something a little bit smaller, or we might find out that we're okay with something a little bit larger. But that can definitely adjust, and that's all part of the process. We'll adjust as we go through that. But once we find a house that seems like it's the perfect one, it meets all of our criteria, it's within our price range, and we're ready to make an offer on it, we will do so. It's very important that we move quickly. One of the biggest mistakes that individuals make in this market is waiting and thinking about it. If you wait and think about it in Austin's market right now, the reality is that home's going to be gone. We have to have the ability to move quickly. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, I don't want to make a $400,000, $500,000 decision without taking a night to sleep over it. And I totally understand that. The reality is you're not making that $400,000, $500,000 decision when you make an offer. When you make an offer, you're simply just giving yourself the ability to get the house under contract, as well as buying the right to do more due diligence once we have it under contract. Once we have it under contract, we'll have what's called an option period, which will allow us to do further due diligence, including a home inspection, at little to no risk. Oftentimes we're risking somewhere in the ballpark of $400 to $500 in order to be able to complete a home inspection while we're in a position of strength having the home under contract. If we find something during that time frame that we're not comfortable with and we don't want to move forward, we can terminate that contract and all you'll lose is the option fee. Now with that knowledge, that should allow us to move faster when we find a house that fits. Again, if we don't move quickly, the likelihood of that house making it all the way through the weekend is extremely small and we could miss out on that opportunity. Let's look at some of the steps that will be involved with the actual offer process. Once we decide we want to offer on a home, the first thing I'm going to do for you is complete a CMA. CMA stands for Comparative Market Analysis. This is where I will pull comparable sales from the neighborhood, comps, to allow you to see what things have sold for recently. This gives us a solid baseline to determine our sales price on. Now, it's important to understand that just because a similar house just sold a couple weeks ago for $300,000, that doesn't mean that we're going to be able to pay $300,000 to get this home under contract. Oftentimes, we're going to have to go above, sometimes slightly, sometimes a lot above what the last one sold in order to get it under contract. But we can use those recent sales as a guideline to determine where we should bring in our offer price at. Another thing that I'll do once we're ready to put in an offer, I'll reach out to the listing agent. At this time, I'm going to find out anything I can about the property. I'm going to ask about how many offers they have in hand, things that are important to the sellers beyond sales price, as well as any requirements that they might have when we're writing an offer for them. I'm also going to be doing my best during this time to build rapport with that agent. If we're in the running, that rapport that I build with that agent can be the difference between our offer being accepted and not being accepted. And I work really hard to make sure that I put us in the best position possible anytime we have a shot at having our offer accepted. Once we have all that information, we will use it to construct our offer. Now, the goal when we're constructing an offer is obviously to get the best possible value for you as the buyer, but also create as much value as possible for the seller to make it attractive. So we're going to use that information I got from the listing agent as well as from the CMA to put together an offer that fits their needs as well as our needs, giving us the best opportunity to have our offer accepted and getting you into a house. Once we write that offer, I will send it over to the listing agent. If it is a multiple offer situation, it is common for there to be a deadline. So for instance, a home is put on the market on a Thursday, they receive multiple offers, they may set a deadline of Monday at noon. So we'll construct our offer over the weekend, get it to the agent by Monday at noon, and expect an answer from them sometime Monday afternoon or Tuesday. If it's not multiple offers, we'll have the opportunity to negotiate before we get that offer under contract. Lots of times we'll send in an initial offer and the sellers will send us a counter, especially if we go under list price. Now in Austin's market, that's not very common right now, but there are some opportunities for this to happen here and there where we would be able to offer under list price and have a negotiation with the seller. Once all parties have agreed to terms, we'll make it official by signing the contract. That's initialing every page as well as signing at the end for both the buyers and the sellers. Once that's completed, we have an executed contract and we are now moving towards the finish line, getting to the closing table where you get keys. There's a lot of elements that go into every single offer. The most obvious one that's important to the sellers as well as the buyers is the sales price, but it's not the only variable that's going to impact which offer is accepted. There's variables such as how much we're putting down, our financing terms, how strong we are as individuals getting financing, the option period and fee. So the option period is completely negotiable. We can put any number down as far as what our option fee is. So we could put something between $100 to $10,000. And then that time frame is completely negotiable as well. We could do 3 days to a week. The higher the amount we put for the option fee, the more attractive it is to the seller, as well as the shorter amount of time that we put in the option period, the more attractive it is to the seller. That option period allows us to terminate for any reason or no reason at all during that time frame. Once we're outside of that time frame, if we were to terminate, we would lose our earnest money. If we terminate during the option period, we would only lose our option fee. A few other items that are included in the contract are the earnest money. That's a common term that's generally 1% of the sales price. So on a $400,000 home, it would be $4,000. But the more earnest money we put down, the more attractive that is to the seller. So that could be something that we could adjust within our offer. There's also a paragraph for what are called seller concessions. This is where we would put seller paid closing costs into the contract. Now, if we're in a situation that it's multiple offers, we're not going to be able to use this tool and have our offer accepted. But if we're in a scenario where we find a home that doesn't have offers on it and we're in a negotiation with the seller, we might be able to negotiate for seller concessions, which will allow you to bring less to the closing table. When I'm working with buyers that have a low down payment number, like 3% or so, this is something that we can use to help keep more money in your pocket, allowing you to feel comfortable moving forward. Another thing that we can build into the contract are residential service agreements, also known as home warranties. These are paid for by the seller if we build it into the contract to do so, which will protect you from things that your homeowner's insurance won't, such as your HVAC system going out or the dishwasher going out, something along those lines that wouldn't be covered by your homeowner's insurance, but we would be covered by a home warranty program. And another key element is the closing date. Generally speaking, the faster we close, the more attractive it is to the seller. A standard close is 30 to 45 days from the executed contract date. Another variable of that closing date may be a seller leaseback. A seller leaseback is where the seller needs to sell the home and take the funds from that home to purchase their next home. And to do that, they need to be able to stay in the home for a couple weeks or a month. So one of the things that I'll be asking when I'm talking to the listing agent is if they need a leaseback. If we're aware that they need a leaseback and are able to build it into where they can stay in the house for a few weeks after closing in order to allow them to move into their next home, that could be a huge variable that will allow our offer to be accepted when other offers are rejected. So I spoke a lot about multiple offer situations. Let's talk about some of the strategies that we'll employ as a team to give us the best shot possible to win those multiple offer situations. One of the biggest aspects of it is my communication with the listing agent. I spoke about it previously, but I'll be working throughout the process to build rapport with that listing agent, as well as understand the seller's needs as best I can. Once we have an understanding of those needs, we're going to build an offer that's going to be as attractive as possible to those sellers based on their needs. We want to make sure that when we're in multiple offer situations that we're writing aggressive offers. It doesn't do us any good to cut list price or try to nickel and dime people when we get into a multiple offer situation, because we'll never get anything under contract. The best advice I can give you as a buyer when we get into these situations is that magic number is a number that you feel comfortable with offering, and you're also comfortable with it not being accepted, right? Like we don't want to offer $405,000 on a house knowing that we would be willing to pay $410 and then find out that it got under contract for $408, right? We want to be aggressive and give ourselves the best possible chance to get that house under contract while not overextending ourselves. Another thing that we'll do is write a love letter. This is one of my favorite activities for my buyers to complete, and it's also a very effective activity. I actually have recently had one of my buyers' offers get accepted that was $10,000 lower than another offer from an investor, but the sellers chose our offer based on our terms and also because of the love letter. They wanted the house to go to somebody that was going to live in it, and they were willing to accept our offer because of it. So what the love letter is, it's basically where you're going to write a letter about why you're excited about this house, how you love what they've done with the place, what you envision this house being like for you in the future. And we're going to tug a little bit the heartstrings of the seller. We talk a lot about the analytics and the actual numbers that go into purchasing a home, but the reality is there's a lot of emotions that are involved with every single one of these transactions. And in some cases, by connecting with the sellers on an emotional level, we'll put ourselves in a position of strength and giving us the best possible opportunity to get our offer accepted. And another huge component of getting our offer accepted is our lender. Our badass lender is going to reach out to the listing agent, make sure that they understand that they have gone through all of our documentation, they've verified all of our assets and our debt to income ratio, and we are ready to go. We won't have any issues closing on this home. That goes a long way in showing the sellers that we are organized and ready to rock and roll, and that they're not going to have any concerns of our offer not getting to the finish line. There's a lot of lenders out there that'll write pre-approval letters, but they haven't actually looked at documents, and what happens is they'll get under contract and then they're actually not able to approve the financing or complete the financing, and therefore that deal will fall apart, forcing the sellers to go back on the market. But we'll be working with one of my favorite local lenders who's going to ensure that the sellers know that's not going to be the case with this home. Okay, we've gone through our offer process and we finally did it. We got our house under contract and we are working towards the closing table. We are roughly 30 to 45 days away from getting the keys to our brand new home and being a homeowner. So now what? Well, let's talk about getting to the closing table. The first thing we're going to talk about is the option period. When we get an offer accepted, you're going to be writing 2 checks that are going to go to the title company. One is going to be for your earnest money, in most cases 1% of the sales price, and the second is going to be for your option fee. Again, that's a completely negotiable fee, but common terms in Austin's market right now on a $400,000 house would be $500 for 4 days. So we'd write that second check for $500. What that does is it buys us 4 days to do our due diligence. We'll get a home inspector in there. Oftentimes that home inspection is going to cost somewhere in the ballpark of $300 to $500, but it's the best money you can spend. We are paying an expert to go in and look at the home. They are looking for things and they always find them. I promise you that they will find plenty of things wrong with the home. The shortest inspection report I've ever seen is 25 pages long, and that was on a brand new home. Now, with all that being said, we're looking for big ticket items. We're looking for indications that this is going to be a bad long-term investment. We're not going to be in a position in Austin's current market to be able to ask for every little repair to be completed, because they can just say no and go back on the market and have their house sold very quickly. But we're going to look at all the variables, determine whether or not this home is a good fit for us with the information we have now, with this expert going through the house and determining if there's anything wrong with it. We'll review that inspection report together, and if we need to get vendors in there, contractors in there to give us quotes or get a better idea of if something's serious or not, we can do that during the option period. During that option period, we can request for repairs from the sellers, we can request price reductions from the sellers, or we can request seller concession, which are seller paid closing costs from the seller. The seller has no obligation to say yes to any of those requests. Our leverage is the ability to terminate the contract. We can terminate for any reason or no reason at all during the option period. If we were to terminate, we would lose our option fee, so in this case $500, but we receive our earnest money back. So at the end of the day, we're paying the $500 plus what we paid for in the inspection, roughly $300 to $500, in order to make sure we're making a solid $400,000 decision. This is a very important aspect of the transaction. Oftentimes it can be very chaotic, but I'll be there to guide you through that process and again, ensure that we're getting you into a home that is a good solid value for you. It's not going to be a money pit, and that you're going to be able to build long-term wealth by the purchase of that home. Once we're through the option period, things are going to slow down quite a bit, but there's going to be a few items that are going to be left for you. During this whole time frame, title is going to be working on stuff, the lender is going to be working on stuff, I'll be working on stuff, and we'll be letting you know if there's anything that we need from you. The biggest reason that the transaction takes so long is for the lender to complete their process with the loan approval. That generally takes 30 to 45 days. But while we are waiting on that to be completed, we'll also get a survey ordered if that's necessary. Oftentimes there's going to be a survey already provided for the home, and that's just a layout of the plot of land that the home is on. You'll also get your homeowner's insurance set up post-option period. We'll get your home warranty set up. We'll transfer utilities into your name. If the lender or title company need any additional documents, you'll be providing that to them throughout this process. But once we have everything ready to rock and roll, we will show up to closing, you'll get the keys, and you will officially be a homeowner. Now, I know we have covered a lot today. And again, this is another reason why it's important to hire team members that you trust and feel comfortable with and that also know the job very well. As we go through this process, I will be there from beginning to end to ensure that you feel comfortable and that you understand each step of the process. So quick recap of what we reviewed. First, we talked about the benefits of homeownership and Austin's housing market. You should be, and I hope that you are, extremely excited to become a homeowner in Austin. It is one of the best ways to build wealth. And the reality is if you continue to wait, you're not going to be able to outsave this market. Interest rates are likely to go up and you're going to lose a lot of purchasing power. So act sooner than later to allow yourself to take advantage of Austin's growing housing market. I would love to be your expert resource as you go through this process. I take a lot of pride in working hard for my clients, knowing Austin's market, and navigating every single transaction to help my clients achieve their best possible outcome. And I want to do that for you. Now, you can and should start the process as soon as possible. My contact information is included here in the video. Please reach out to me via call, text, email, whatever you feel comfortable with, and we can get the process started and get you into a home, building equity in Austin as soon as possible. Thanks for joining us today, and I look forward to hearing from you.